Is the big story in the college football playoff. Clemson will play in the Goodyear Cotton Bowl without one of its stars, All-American defensive tackle Dexter Lawrence has been suspended. He will not play against Notre Dame after testing positive for a banned substance, ostarine. This is a drug used by bodybuilders and activates steroid receptors. The idea behind it, building lean muscle mass, and it's on the prohibited list according to the World Anti-Doping Agency, not available as a prescription medication. Tom Rinaldi with Lawrence early Thursday before the official announcement of the suspension.
What was your first thought?
My first thought was like I started thinking, he started telling me like what it could come from, and I just started thinking like going way back, like, cause we get drug tested often, really often. And I was just thinking what did I do differently? Like where did it come from? Like I was questioning myself because I was trying to see where it came from. I didn't understand, and so that's just kind of how my thought process was in the beginning. And then, you know, I realized that I didn't change anything, and I don't know where that could come from.
Tom Rinaldi with Dexter Lawrence on Media Day with the Clemson Tigers. Tom, you've been with this team. How have they been preparing for this potential outcome?
Kevin, they're disappointed but not surprised, despite Dexter Lawrence's shock and bafflement ever since this result was announced last week, and ever since Lawrence was informed the program made a decision and has not wavered. They have prepared to play in the Cotton Bowl without their star defensive tackle. What does that mean? While Lawrence is around the team during workouts, even with a whistle around his neck to try to be, if you will, a coach player, the truth is, 3 players are going to have to replace that 340-pound man, the most important being senior Albert Huggins. In the words of Dabo Swinney, he is an NFL-ready prospect who simply happened to play behind 2 future first-rounders. He's averaged more than 20 snaps per game. No snaps will be more important, of course, than the ones that he'll face against Notre Dame and the Fighting Irish. I bring in our colleague, Marty Smith, who's been embedded with the Irish and who spoke to them about the possibility of this happening and how it might affect their game plan. Marty.
Tom, earlier today during Media Day, I actually asked their great center, Sam Mustipher, what do you think the potential would be for you guys if indeed Dexter Lawrence can't play on the other side of the football for Clemson? And the first thing he did was laud Lawrence's athletic ability. He said someone that is that large and moves that well at that size is simply incredible. He's a great impact player for that defense. And I said, how do you take advantage of that absence if indeed he can't play? He said he doesn't see an advantage. He said we've studied them and seen how their defensive coordinator, Brent Venables, prepares Clemson's defense to have great freedom, fly around, and make plays. And he couldn't believe the depth on the defensive line that Clemson presents. Now, here's what I'd like to know. I wonder what those lost snaps for Lawrence mean in the cumulative effect for Clemson's defensive front and also for Notre Dame's offensive line. And running back Dexter Williams, might they run the ball a bit more on Saturday afternoon because Lawrence isn't in that lineup? Kevin?
Marty, thank you so much. You see the impact Lawrence has had when you look at the FPI, and when he's on the field, the yards per rush, different when he's off the field, right? I mean, immediate impact. We're talking about a guy that's going to go to the NFL potentially as a first-round draft pick. When he's on the field, this defense is dominant. The big question is what happens now off the field. Great to have Jesse Palmer with us with his analysis. So what will happen? The impact without Dexter Lawrence.
It's a huge loss for the Clemson Tigers. Not only is he one of the best players on their defense, but at 6'4", 340 pounds, this guy's a one-man wrecking machine. He's a game wrecker, so good against the run. He can penetrate, get you tackles for loss, but also has the ability with his size to eat up double-team blocks, allowing linebackers to run unimpeded to the football. In the pass rush game, he's got great quickness for a big man, but also can flush quarterbacks to the right or the left, collapsing the pocket, forcing quarterbacks to run into the hands of a Clelin Ferrell, into the hands of an Austin Bryant. He's a first-round pick, and this may not hurt Clemson's defense as much as it would other defenses because they still have a Christian Wilkins lining up at D-tackle, and Albert Huggins, as we've talked about, is probably going to get an opportunity to play on Sundays. But when we talk about Clemson being the best defensive line in college football, a big part of that is Dexter Lawrence, and that's why it's a big loss for Clemson.
Lawrence missed 2 games last year with a foot injury. We saw Huggins slide right in. Vegas thinks it's a big deal. The line is 13 points. It has moved to 12.5 now. Clemson's still favored. How does this change the game plan for Notre Dame moving forward Saturday?
Head coach Brian Kelly, I'm now a lot more committed to being patient, running the football between the tackles and getting Dexter Williams, their running back, going. There is a drop-off for Clemson on the defensive line from the starters to the backups. And while Albert Huggins and Niles Pinckney, the backup D tackles, are good players, they're not first-round picks in the National Football League. So Notre Dame loves the inside zone play. They love the counter play, pulling guards and tackles. They will now expect to be able to get a lot more movement up front with the absence of Dexter Lawrence in this game. It is critical that Notre Dame is able to run the football. Yes, it gives them balance. Yes, it sets up play action opportunities, but it allows them to keep third downs manageable. You cannot be in 3rd and long situations against that pass rush from the Clemson Tigers. It's the best in the country, even without Dexter Lawrence. Now without him playing in this game, it gives Dexter Williams in this running game from Notre Dame an opportunity to find success.
And if you're wondering at home, hey, what does this mean impact next week if they were to win? It's potentially, if it's not appealed, a year-long suspension. So this could be